But like you said, it gets dangerous, especially when these young kids start using PEDs with no knowledge.
Right.
Oh, my favorite influencer said 17 grams a tren. And I'm like, wait, whoa. Hold up. Wait a minute.
We're talking fucking, you're going to get violent as hell.
Oh my God.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy, the SRT God. I'm back on your screen with another one today. I have a special guest I'm super excited to have on here. Has always been a huge supporter of not only just myself and what I'm doing with my brand and everything so forth on the line. He's always reached out. Fuck, we have 726 days on Snapchat in a
Something
row.
like that.
It's been pretty cool. But I want to welcome Shaun, the Beard Gorilla.
What's up, brother?
Thanks
How you
for
doing?
coming on
Of course,
here, brother.
Man.
I wanted to bring you on here because you have a different aspect, obviously, you know, from the fitness realm and background, and there's a lot to it. But I want to bring you on here just to kind of shoot the shit and share with people behind the stage. You know, there's a lot that goes on.
There's a lot that goes into it.
It's not just stepping on stage, flexing and doing your thing. It's there's so much more to it. And a lot of people, you know, especially nowadays, the younger generation, everybody's a fucking trainer on the internet.
Yeah. They do one show and they think they know everything.
They're entrepreneurs. I don't consider you one of those guys. You've been doing this for years. I've seen you doing it for years. I've watched you doing it for years. I guess those types of people I was talking about over the last couple of years, probably before COVID, during COVID.
You had a lot of that pop up over COVID,
Right.
And I mean, so I've been doing this. I've been coaching since late 2011, early 2012-ish. So I mean, I've been around for a long time. First bodybuilding show was back then too. So yeah, but like you said, during COVID, you know, is when a lot of these pop-up trainers really popped up, right? So, you know, and it's no disrespect to them. I mean, everybody's got to start somewhere, but I also don't think you can do one show and then expect.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Not even that you really need formal education, but at least some form of, you know, background. Right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah. As soon as they start lifting weights and working out, going to the gym, right away, they're coaches, you know, everybody's a coach.
Yep.
But I think you and numerous high-end coaches set your guys' self apart. And I think that's great. And I think it's awesome. Because when you start messing around with this game, you know, from the natural to the NPC to the IFBB, you know, there's a lot of different realm that goes into the tails to that, but at the same time, it can get fucking dangerous.
It can. It can, you know, get really dangerous, especially, I wouldn't necessarily say so much on the natural side, right? And, you know, any of my clients will tell you I ask for blood work, whether you're natural, enhanced, or, you know, or not. It doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, blood work, you know, does tell a different story.
Yeah.
Just because you're feeling fine doesn't mean you are fine, right?
Correct.
If your kidney's failing, you're not really going to feel that, right? You know, if your arteries are clogged, you know, you might have a higher blood pressure overall, but 90% of people don't check their blood pressure every morning.
Absolutely.
I do. My coach, John Jewett, great friend, great mentor, phenomenal coach, Olympia level bodybuilder. You know, every week on my check-in, it says, what was your blood pressure this week? You know, and checked in yesterday, it was 117/72. Absolutely perfect, right?
Yeah.
But like you said, it gets dangerous, especially when these young kids start using PEDs with no knowledge.
Right.
Oh, my favorite influencer said 17 grams a tren. And I'm like, wait, whoa. Hold up. Wait a minute.
We're talking fucking, you're going to get violent as hell.
Oh my God. And that's the problem, right? You know, I mean, you know, we can go down that rabbit hole later, but, you know, just to kind of start off, it gets dangerous. Even in the natural world, it can be dangerous if you're not, you know, manipulating sodium and water, or, you know, you have one of these coaches who are like, cut water 2 days out, you know, and they're on 500 calories a day. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're going to kill somebody.
Yeah.
Not to bring up, you know, necessarily bad past coaches.
Right.
But, you know, not every coach is for every client, right?
Agreed, 100%.
You know, so I've had multiple shitty coaches. I've had multiple great coaches.
But just because they're great, and it doesn't mean that you didn't like them. It just wasn't for you at that time. It wasn't
for me, right? You know, before I was with John Jewett, you know, I did have Matt Jansen and a bunch of us around here. A bunch of us around here have had him as a coach, you know, and he came out not too long ago after the Olympia and kind of apologized and said his heart wasn't in it anymore. And I respect that. You owned up to your mistakes, right? You know, cool. When I had him as a coach, he never brushed me off, but I never felt like, you know, it was I always felt like it was a hassle to him.
Yeah. Because you weren't his top clients, right?
Right. And that's not how it should be, right? I only bring on so many clients per month, right? Or at a time, I should say, because the fact that you can ask any one of them, I know how their family's doing. You know, we have gorilla team, you know, Christmas parties, you know, stuff like that. So I try to keep it as smaller because you get that one-on-one detail, right? You get that one-on-one style coaching.
Yep.
Even one of my best friends, she's a little sister to me. You know, she's my training partner at this point, right?
Yep.
So you know, it's one of those things where I know what I don't want in a coach, and I know what it's like to feel right from a shitty coach. So I never want my clients to feel that way. So when I was looking for a coach, you know, I had already completed the J3 University, you know, and all that other stuff. And I've known John for a while anyway. So I messaged him one day and was like, hey, this is the deal. You know, I'm leaving, you know, Matt, do you have any openings? And he's not bringing on any more personal clients, right, at this time, because he does have the J3U coaching staff and all the other guys over there, phenomenal coaches. But I was like, you know, I just, you know, I trust you. I need a coach that I can actually trust, that we see eye to eye, right? I'm a nerd for the science, right? Which is why I work with Fitness Informant, you know, breaking down supplement articles and stuff. But that can, you know, for later. But so I messaged him, sent him, you know, this long email, and he messaged me back within an hour or two. I'm like, how hard was that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You have some of these coaches who are like, I see you're checking on Friday. I'm gone all weekend. I'll get back to you Monday. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how can you do that as a coach? It's 2025.
Right.
Every single one of us are on our phone 90% of the day.
Absolutely.
It's not that hard. I mean, right now on my phone, I have my Gorilla Squad app, right? I can pull it up if somebody, you know, message me, hey, a question. If it's not super important, hey, I got this. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. But at least let them know you saw it and you're working on it, right? And you know, you have
it's a response thing, right?
Well, it's a respect thing,
right?
No, very few people in this world can afford to just throw money away, right? So no matter if you're a thousandaire or a millionaire or higher than that, who wants to waste $400 to $600 a month on a coach that doesn't fucking respond to them?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Because at that point, you're working for me.
Yeah.
I'm not working for you.
No.
You know, and I think a lot of coaches, they think that way on this younger generation as well. You're working for me because I'm teaching you this. No, I'm paying you. That's a service.
It's a service.
You know, so when I text you, I understand everybody's got shit.
Everybody's got a life
and so forth. And it's not bleed it 24/7. I get that, but a decent response, like you said, real quick. Hey, I'm out to dinner real quick. I'll get back to you.
It's not hard
when I get home.
It's not hard.
At least I know you saw it and you acknowledged it.
Yeah.
You know?
And like I said, because we're all on our phone the majority of the day.
Absolutely.
It's just, it sucks. Yeah. If I could get rid of Instagram and Facebook, I fucking would in a heartbeat. Yeah. Right? But most of us can't nowadays because all of our businesses and all of our, you know, communications are ran through our phones. But, you know, I mean, back when I first started coaching, it was Excel spreadsheets and emails. You know what I'm saying? And now I have an app that I can just program everything into, you know, and you know, build out a complete detailed, at this time, you know, this is what your I don't have to write down the macro breakdowns. It already does it for me on the back end. So it's super simple. But you're already on Instagram. You're already on Facebook. You're out to dinner with your family. But let's be realistic. You're probably playing on your fucking phone anyway.
Right. I felt the ding.
Yeah. Like, wait a second. Even if you're not, you'd be like, hey, okay, cool.
Right.
You know, and my wife's a mortgage broker. And the same thing. We have an understanding. We have a 16-year-old son too, right? And it's very hard to take your phone away from a kid nowadays.
Right.
But even he understands for the majority of, you know, most of the time, you know, hey, we're at Texas Roadhouse, whatever. Put your fucking phone up. Yeah. Let's have a normal conversation as a normal family.
Right. And it's called communication for the ones that don't understand that.
Anymore, right? But as the conversation dulls or you know, lulls out, cool. You know, play on your phone till the food gets here, right? But we're not going to be playing on the phone when the food's here, obviously.
Right.
But for the most part, you know, we try to stay off our phones. But if she's dealing with a client that, you know, is waiting on a number or, you know, whatever from a realtor or something, it's understand.
That's going to make you money, right?
Right.
So it's fair.
You have these clients, and me too, right? If I have a client that has an emergency, hey, a good example is, you know, I have a client that's out of town on vacation. Hey, I'm going to this restaurant. What should I eat? Pick A, B, or C. You know, send me a fucking picture of the menu. It's super easy. Pick A, B, or C. Cool. And then you're back to the conversation.
Right.
Right. Or, It's, hey, I'm going to the gym in a couple hours. Can I replace chest flies with chest press? Whatever. That's not that important. I can answer that later. Right. You know what I'm saying? But it's those coaches that act like they're not on their fucking phone.
Right. But yeah, recording everything they're doing.
But you're posting on Facebook and you're posting on Instagram and you're doing all this. That's cool. You have a life. You have a family. I get it. Just don't fucking ignore me for 3 or 4 days after my check-in.
Right.
Because now I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to follow the same shit.
Right.
And, you know, that kind of goes into one of my other coaches. You know, I had Dexter Jackson for my first national level competition.
I remember this, yes.
My wife is the date person. She knows the dates better than I do. Let's see, it was COVID, so it's 2020. It was in Orlando. Got to Orlando, got off the plane, had a huge fucking issue with Delta because with my PTSD being from the military and the Navy, which we'll get into that in a little bit. But with PTSD and, you know, having a mask on and my face covered, it doesn't work, right? So I had one of them like clear face shields on. They damn near drugged me off the fucking plane, caused this big fucking scene, forced me to wear multiple masks and all this shit. And I'm like hyperventilating, like a true like anxiety attack. Like I thought I was gonna die because I mean I've had anxiety attacks before, but this was like fucking different. The fucking Delta, which they made up for it in the long run, and they have been better. You know, obviously COVID is fucking whatever now. You know, at the time the stewardess chick was laughing at me. Because I'm having like a full-blown panic attack. And, you know, we had a member from Lowe's, she was on the plane with her boyfriend, and they heard it in the back too. And I'm like, because they were going to compete as well. And I'm just like, how are you still working for this fucking airline company when you're that big a piece of shit? I'm a fucking vet. You're going to laugh at me for having PTSD and having anxiety. Like, who the fuck do you think you are? Right. So, but anyway, so full-blown panic attack. I landed in Florida, and I looked like I didn't even fucking diet. Just from like the water retention and the stress and like cortisol, just like, and I just felt it like it was happening. Like, I don't know how to explain it other than just like a full flush inside your body. Right. And you're just like, in my head, I'm just like, motherfucker, I just wasted 18 weeks to get here. Right. So I call him. He sends me my list of food to go get from Walmart, go get all the food, get home, cook all the food, go to bed. Well, being from the military, I get up super early in the morning. The same thing I tell my clients. I'm up around 3:30 every morning till probably 8:30 at night. I'm free during that time. But anyway, so I get up, I go do my morning walk, you know, whatever, getting ready for the day. But I look at my email and he sent me a completely different diet than he had the day before. Everything $250+ we just spent at fucking Walmart the day before, wasted. So I call him, and he was in California at the time. I call him and he never answers. And he finally answers. He's like, what do you want? First of all, bitch, who the fuck are you talking to? Right. Like, I'm not trying to be tough, but I'm paying you X amount of money. You're not going to answer the phone. What do you want? Right. So
you're already over to the boil point.
I'm already pissed. So you're already fucking pissed. Like, competing is not cheap. Right.
No, absolutely not.
This is something that a lot of people know when they get into this sport, especially competing at a high level. Right. It's not cheap. But competing at a normal local show, it's going to cost you $1,500, $2,000 minimum. Right. And
if you have a coach and you're doing what they tell you to do.
Well, that's not even counting a coach. Like, you got to pay the federation fees. You got to buy a suit. Women's suits are fucking ridiculously expensive. Yeah. You're going to spend way more than that. You know, a men's suit, luckily I have a sponsor. So, you know, CJ's Elite Suits. So I don't pay for a suit. But, I mean, men's suit you can probably get for under $100. Not terrible. Right. But then you got your food. If you're natural, that's different, you know, a different realm. But PEDs get expensive as shit. Yep. I do all my blood work and stuff through Merrick Health. So, you know, I have a prescription for all my stuff, and anything that is FDA regulated, they prescribe. But it's nice, once again, blood work, right? Make sure you're healthy, because the whole thing with my wife was, if you're going to do this at a high level, you're going to get your fucking blood work done.
Well, you're not going to because these bodybuilders they're dying like fucking flies. You know, they really are. And it's like they go in streaks. Yeah. They'll have 1, 2, 3. And then a year will go by,
the industry.
And it just boom. And I was like, what in the hell is going on?
Well, you know, a few years ago you had Sean Roden and you had George DeBull and a couple other people pass away within 8 months of each other. Right. And of course it was the COVID and the shot and all that stuff was about the same time frame. But anyway, so I buy all the food, cook the food, call him. He says, "What do you want?" And I'm like, "Dude, first of all, what the fuck, right?" So we have this big long argument, and he hangs up on me. He blocks me on Facebook. He blocks me on Instagram. He blocks my WhatsApp number. Blocked my phone number. I couldn't get in touch with him. Well, luckily, I'm a prep coach. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But it's hard to prep yourself.
It's hard to prep yourself. There's one person on this planet that I know that can do it successfully, and that's my coach, John Jewett. He coached himself for the past however many years into the Olympia successfully.
Right.
You know, and that's the top 10 or 15 in the world.
Right.
And you're doing it yourself.
Right.
When I say smartest dude I've ever met, hands down, one of the smartest people I've ever met. But anyway, so we had this big long argument. He blocks me on everything, fucking ghosts me. Like a couple days out from my show. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
Most important time.
Most important time.
Yeah.
So when I say I know what it's like to have a shitty coach, like, dude, what the fuck, man?
Right.
So I salvaged what I could, ended up taking 12th in that show, in a national level show, my first show, which, considering everything that happened, I wasn't mad at. My beard was too long because it was, remember, it was down to my belly button back then, right? Yeah. So the judges hit me on that. So they told me they moved me from 12th to 15th for that reason, because you hit your side chest or your side tricep, whatever, they just can't see.
Right.
My bad.
But this was down in Florida too, right?
Yeah, it was 2020.
Yeah. So when, for the people that don't understand this, when you go to Florida, you go to Chicago, you go to LA, you're fucking with a different beast that you don't see at normal shows. No. You don't see in a Midwest show.
No.
These guys come out of the fucking woodwork.
Well, so technically it's an international show, even though it's called nationals.
Right.
Because there's people from Cuba, there's people from all over the world that compete, right? And there's thousands of people.
Yep.
So like I said, it felt, like you said, it's not just going to your local, gym, right, and seeing some dude that looks okay.
Right.
And I'm not trying to brag by any means, because that's not what that's for, but it's like
you're comparing yourself.
Shell shocked. Yeah. In that first show, I texted my wife. Even this last show that I took second in the nation, I texted my wife backstage. Fuck, these motherfuckers are big.
Right.
And I'm 250 pounds.
Right.
And not, I maxed my weight out at 217 at the last show, but I'm the biggest and leanest I've ever been at this point right now. But like even back then, last year, I'm like, fuck, these dudes are big.
Right.
And at that show, I don't even remember what it was at that show. I was probably 198 or so.
Which is a big difference.
It is a big difference.
And clean difference.
Yeah. Well, I was retaining some water, and I could have been smaller, and he could have brought me in a lot tighter, and I probably should have been. Once again, I took 12th, right?
Yeah.
I deserved it. But there was a lot more than 12 people, obviously. But anyway, so immediately, I'm fucked, right?
Right.
So went from that, I actually met Matt Jansen in person at that show. We had a very good conversation. Super smart guy, mostly bro science. So, I was like, I know he coaches high level athletes, right? I'm not saying I am a high level athlete at that point, but I'm a nerd for the knowledge, right? Yep. I want to learn as much as I can about this sport. Even till today, me and John will send medical journals back and forth. I read medical journals for fun. It sounds stupid, but especially in this industry, if you're not continuously trying to learn, right? We'll take creatine, for example, right? I mean, it's still one of the most studied products on the market. But there's a lot of studies and science backing it, saying it can help prevent Alzheimer's and stuff like that. So that's actually one of my biggest fears is Alzheimer's or dementia, right? Like, I don't want to forget who the fuck I am, right? So that's a whole nother rabbit hole we can fucking go down. We need a whole nother podcast for that one. But yeah, so Matt was a great coach. We won a couple shows together. I didn't always agree with the way he ran things, right? Because once again, I'm a science nerd, and he was like, let's run these compounds together. And in my head, I'm like, I don't know if I would really do that, but I'm paying you a lot of money. I'm going to follow what you say, because if I don't, then it's on me. Right. Excuse me. So like I said, great. He knows what he knows.
Right.
Great coach. He can get you in shape. So we won a couple shows. Then we went to, I did nationals up in Pittsburgh in 2000. Let's see, that was, when did I win Minnesota State? 23. So this was 22.
Yeah,
this is 22. So came off the show with Dexter Jackson, hired Matt, won on my wife's birthday. won the Ironman here. You know, I pretty much won every title except for the TCO in Minnesota, which Jeff Zoller and them, phenomenal show.
Yes, they do run a good show.
They run a phenomenal show. You know, the other shows that were here, they were ran phenomenally well. The whole Upper Midwest shows were running good. But it's just something about the way Jeff connects to the community.
Right. I think it was good to have new blood in here when it comes to that.
I think that was a big thing too. Yeah.
She had ran it for so long and so many years. And when
she fucked a bunch of people over when she left.
Right. And when you have something like that for so long, and then you bring somebody in that's our age, does what we do. Not saying she didn't, because she did it at a very high level.
Yeah.
But it was definitely time for new blood.
Yep.
And in the way that they run their show, I mean, I've sponsored their show a couple times with my clothing line and stuff, and they run. I mean, it's fucking legit.
They do it.
You know, I mean, they go all out.
They do go all out.
And they get good competition in there.
There's a lot of good people that compete in those shows, you know, and I haven't done that show because it hasn't lined up with where I've been at in my season yet. And I'll probably never compete in the state again just because, no offense to anybody but the state, but this next show that I'm actually starting prep for in March, I expect to win, you know, this time because I did take second last time. We'll get in that in a minute. But yeah, like you said, I mean, it's Jeff and them, they run a phenomenal show. The TCO is, if you're in Minnesota and the TCO is around, definitely highly suggest go see.
Yes.
And this isn't necessarily a plug for him whatsoever, but if you want to see what bodybuilding in 2025 should be, the background's phenomenal. The lights are amazing. They always have good guest posers. The awards, they like I said, I've never competed in this show.
Yeah.
And not that I regret not competing in it, but it's just like, damn, like if I was a competitor at the local level still, I would want to be.
And they don't gouge you either. It's very reasonable prices to get into it. Where some of them were, you get a coffee cup.
Yeah.
You know, and by what we're saying, guys, is you get bags. It's called swag bags.
Swag bags. Yeah.
Numerous different sponsors will throw things in there. And when I've done and sponsored their shows, I mean, their swag bags were legit. Yeah. And it's nothing like to brag about, but it's definitely a lot better than the past.
Well, like if you sign up early, you get like a jacket.
Yeah, they did that last year or something. Yeah.
I mean, shit. I wanted to sign up just to get the fucking jacket, you know?
Right. But not even fucking compete.
But yeah, so like I said, I'm at the end of my off season. So won the Ironman in 2021. So 22, we went to Pittsburgh for that show, and I took third. Backstage, I'm texting my wife. I'm fucking getting smoked. These dudes are big as shit.
Right.
I was 187. Once again, I didn't agree.
At 6 feet tall.
At 6 foot tall. So I was shredded. I was fucking inside out.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll, show you, send that picture to you so you can pop it up right there. But once again, I didn't agree how he brought me in. I definitely lost a lot of muscle tissue.
Yep. Which is easy to do at that point.
It is easy to do, even if you're on PEDs.
Right.
It's still easy to do.
Yep.
If not easier to do, because
you're not
once the
feeding
pendulum goes too far, it's hard to get it to stop. Right. So like I said, when I won the Ironman, I had FaceTimed him. Everything was cool. Nick Walker was in the background, said congratulations, super cool. But then I take third at nationals and I get a thumbs up. What the fuck? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's when I really realized, like, maybe he's just not the coach for me.
Right.
And nothing about him. He's had some very high level, successful competitors.
Yep.
Nick Walker won the Arnold. Shaun
Nick Walker's a good dude.
Good, super good.
I've known him I've known him since he was 18. He was actually on the same team I was on, and even back then he was nowhere near the level he was now. But even then, I mean, he was destined. He's built different,
But yeah, Sean Clarita, he's had some very, very good athletes, but once again, we just didn't connect on that level.
Right.
But once you find that coach, athlete connection, right? And if anybody's played sports, they get it.
Right.
If you have a coach that you fucking connect with, you'll fucking die on the hill for. Right. You'll do whatever he asks, not ask a question unless you're wanting to learn. But that's understood, right? You're not like, well, why the fuck am I doing that type thing? But then you have those coaches where you just don't get along with, or you just don't vibe with, and it just doesn't work.
But you want to pay them because of who they are.
Right. And there's a lot of that. And I fell into that trap with Dexter Jackson. He won Mr. Olympia in 2008. He should know a lot. I knew more than he did the majority of the time, because I'm like, no, dude, that's not how this works. You know, you're going to kill me trying to run this much insulin without this, you know, whatever, right? So, you know, in theory, 1 IU of insulin should equal 10 grams of carbs.
Correct. Not just carbs.
Well,
but carbs.
But I'm trying to break it down easily, right?
Right.
But yeah, so in general, 10 grams of carbs per 1 IU of if you're you know, exogenously adding it,
right? Yeah.
Which means it's not intrinsically in your body already. But yeah, so just things that you don't agree with, right?
Yeah.
So, but you know, John can say jump, and I'm going to say how high, because I know he's not just saying this just to say. He's been there, he's done that. He's never asked me to do something he's never done himself before, and that's where it goes back to the self-coaching, right? Like, if you're objective enough, and you can truly be objective enough to grow successfully in the off season, compete successfully, and compete at the highest level possible, which for everybody that doesn't know, the Olympia is the Super Bowl of bodybuilding. It's it's our largest show. The Arnold is a very close second, and it might very well be, you know, eventually surpass it.
Oh, with what they want to do with the prize packs and stuff.
With the prize money,
they're definitely pushing it.
They're pushing a lot of prize money this year. So, but yeah, so once you find that coach, you know, it changes the game.
Right.
And I went from 187 pounds at that show, which I admittedly was too small, to when I competed at the Mr. Minnesota, when I won the overall at Minnesota State. I won Mr. Minnesota, and I was 207. So that's 20 pounds in less than a year of tissue, of solid tissue. I was leaner, and I was a lot bigger, which once again, I'll send you that picture, right? That's the one I showed you on my phone earlier, you know, standing on stage. And that was the last Upper Midwest show that was ever going to be. They had Phil Heath come in, phenomenal dude, one of the most humble dudes I've ever met.
Yeah,
I came off stage. Well, earlier in the day, he was like, "You're going to win this show." And in my head, I'm like, "Shit, fucking Phil Heath told me I want to win this show. Fuck everybody else. You can't tell me shit.
You might as well give it to me now.
Just go ahead, you know, whatever." So, and then I come off stage after I won. He was like, "I fucking told you." And then he like pulls me aside, and we have like a 45-minute conversation, and we're talking about everything from the mama mentality to what it takes, you know, to compete at not just my level, but his level as well.
Right.
And not everybody has that, right? I mean, just because you go step on the stage, I'm glad you did, because I think everybody that works out should know what it takes to get truly conditioned and step on stage. Not everybody wants to do that, and I understand, but it teaches you who you are. Right. And, you know, my parents definitely taught me my work ethic. My grandfather 100%, you know, got that from him. And my parents carried it along, and then the Navy as well. But yeah, so came on stage, had a long conversation with my wife, and all my, you know, clients and friends are out front, like blowing my phone up, like, "Where the fuck are you at?" My phone's sitting over there. I'm talking to Phil Heath. I don't give a shit about y'all, right? Because this is a once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah. And for the ones that don't know who Phil Heath is, he's a very well bodybuilder that has won the Olympia seven times.
7 times. Yep.
And to have a conversation with him, first of all, without pain
is
is huge.
It's huge. You
and
know,
then to him specifically to come over to you and say something to you, I mean, that's once in a lifetime.
It was better than winning any show I've ever won in my entire life, and I've won a lot of fucking shows. But yeah, it's one, like I said, it's one of those once in a lifetime experiences. Some guy was trying to walk up, and he like turned his back to him so he could continue the conversation with me, and it just really meant a lot, you know. And then the next month after that, we were at the Olympia. And I was going to stand in line just to, you know, go say what's up again. And he like recognized me. My wife got it on video. He like recognized me and, you know, pulled me up, and we talked for a few minutes. He was like, "How you doing?" You know, it was very cool that he even remembered who the fuck I was. Because these people, Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, they see a million faces all day long. And it's like, for you to remember my name, let alone, I mean, yeah, you know, beards and tattoos are telling.
Yeah.
But
that's
remember my
still
name,
minor.
right? I mean, yeah, it
Right.
was only a month, but it's not the point. Like it, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that was super cool. But anyway, so that was my first show with John.
And
right?
so you won Mr. Minnesota with John.
With John, right?
In
2023.
23,
Yep.
yes.
I actually went and got it tattooed on my wrist for the reason that so the national level show that I took, that I had competed at, you know, I took that as my sign of I'm not done in the state yet, right? And that might sound corny, but I had always wanted to win a Mr. State title,
right?
Whether it was Mr. Georgia, you know, when I was in the military, whether it was Virginia or, you know, Mississippi, Louisiana, whatever. I'd always wanted to win a Mr. State title.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're in the bodybuilding, everybody wants to win a Mr. Minnesota or a Mr. something.
And I got a cool fucking crown. I should have brought it, you know, because cool. it's red, but I'll have to bring it next time I come back. But yeah, so cool crown and cape and, you know, scepter and all that shit. But yeah, so won that with John. And so that was 2023. And then we went into an off season, right? And so from there, an off season, for people who don't know, we actually call it a growth phase.
Correct.
Because I don't like getting fat sloppy anyways, right? Yep. And that's just my mentality.
We call that dirty bulking.
Dirty bulking, right?
So.
And there's nothing wrong with it, but as a competitor, it just makes your life that much harder.
Yeah, because prep sucks balls.
Prep sucks no matter who you are.
Yeah.
It actually, your insulin sensitivity kind of goes down quite a bit, the softer you get. So it's actually harder to put on muscle the bigger.
But people think that, I'm up 30 pounds, man. That's a lot of muscle.
That's a lot of weight.
No, bro, that's a lot of fat.
Let me get a hold of you for 2 months and I guarantee you all that shit's gone.
Right.
But yeah, so I think the highest we got in that off season was 240. Still relatively lean, but I look back now and I'm like, damn, I was a little thick, you know?
Yeah.
And I in the grand scheme of things, I wasn't, but for me, I was a little thick, but that was our first true, like, let's grow off season, right?
And him to get a hold of you and see what you can do, right?
Yeah.
Because we're in off season, I feel like that's where coaches can play with you a little bit, kind of see if, is this person really into it? Is he really going to follow my shit? Is he really going to go to the gym every day?
Yeah.
You know, because these guys are putting in time and effort into you too, even though you're paying them, they want to see you succeed. Most coaches want to see you succeed because it's their name on you.
It's their name on you. And a real coach, whether it's John or, you know, you have like Milos and, you know, all these other top named coaches, they're not just looking at your check-ins with pictures, right? And what I do as a coach is what I've emulated from John is daily biofeedback. Did you poop today? Did you get your steps in today? Did you drink all your water? How are you feeling? On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your digestion, your sleep, et cetera, and all these other things that go into it. Because hypothetically, if I was to check in this morning and I went and had pizza last night, it's going to throw everything off, right?
And he's going to know that.
And he's going to know that. But if you have a full snapshot of your week versus just one day, it gives a whole lot better average, right? So, but I treat my wife gets upset at this sometimes because I treat my, my off seasons as a prep, right? I'm 100% of the time, right? And very seldom do I go out to eat. Well, I'll go out to eat, but I might not eat nothing, right?
Right.
Because once you get to a point to where it's all you eat is clean food anyways,
right?
You go have a chicken sandwich or whatever from Chick-fil-A, it's going to hurt your fucking stomach.
Yeah, honestly, it tastes like shit.
It does. I mean, it's good for the 5 minutes that you're eating it, right? We'll take, for example, a few weeks ago, we went to Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel, I'm from Georgia, so most people don't know, but I'm from Georgia. Cracker Barrel is hands down my favorite restaurant on the fucking planet. I can go there for breakfast, lunch, and dinner 1,000,000 times a day. And then we leave Cracker Barrel. So when I went, I get the same thing every time I go. It's the fried chicken with gravy, right?
Yep.
Biscuits, so I can make biscuits and gravy. And I'll put some syrup on it, so it's like a chicken and waffles type thing.
Yep.
And then I'll get two macaroni and cheeses and 2 fried okras, and I'm fucking putting it all together, and I'm mixing it in a big-ass bowl. People look at me like I'm stupid. However, I'm eating 7,500 calories clean a day. Right. I can put this shit down like it's nothing.
Right.
And even, I mean, once again, I'll screenshot and show it to you, but even John's like, how the fuck do you eat this much food, bro? And be that lean.
Right.
But anyways, it's because I work for it, right? But anyway, so we're leaving and we actually had to go to Costco after we left there. And I'm like, I didn't fucking enjoy that.
Right.
And that was the first time it really hit me. Like sometimes, like if I've only been to Culver's twice in my entire life. While it was good, I ended up throwing up the next night or that same night because it hurt my stomach so much.
Right.
You know, and the only thing that I can get by eating is sushi because it's sushi. It's still relatively clean. It's going to be high in sodium and high in fat if you're getting, you know, the avocado and shit. But that's the only thing that's off plan that doesn't hurt my stomach. But I treat my growth phases like a prep, and because this is my entire life. This is my job. I get paid to eat. I get paid to work out. What you're not going to go to your job place and, well, some people will, but you're not going to go to your job place and half-ass it and expect to get a raise. That's just not going to fucking happen. Right? You might keep your job. You might get by with half-ass and everything, but you're never going to be.
You can't half-ass bodybuilding.
I don't want to be a local competitor. Some people are cool with that. I don't. What good is that? It does nothing for me. I didn't work that hard because I pop this picture up. When I joined the Navy, I was 125, 130 pounds.
We'll put this on there because this is a interesting picture.
So the picture that is right here, the one on the left, I was at a dog show in 2008. Me and a buddy of mine. I've always been into pit bulls. We used to breed them and take them to dog shows and stuff. I got trophies. Well, actually, I don't know where the fucking trophies are at anymore. But just because we've moved 1,000 times in the past 10 years. But I used to have ribbons and trophies and shit all over my house and prize bloodlines and, you know, and all this stuff. And it got to, you know, at the point, you know. Me and my ex-wife got divorced, and before I met my current wife. And she kind of fucked me, you know, she left me with a house and the cars and all this stuff. So I had to get rid of the dog so I could pay the bills. And then, you know, it got to the point where, hey, well, you know, I'm still struggling to pay the bills. I'm in decent shape. I'm going to go be a stripper for a while. And then I met my wife, and obviously I'd already stopped stripping by then, but it's funny. She gets so mad at me now because I didn't tell her until like 2 weeks before we were married. I was fucked up on Ambien one night and I was like, by the way, bitch. And she's like, no, you weren't. And I was like, well, and you know, it happens, right? I mean, because I had Alexis, I had a Magnum, I had a mortgage, I had all these other bills, and as an E5 in the Navy, you're not making a lot of fucking money. Barely enough, you know, especially with the mortgage and shit, right? So
that's if they give you the check.
Right. You know, so luckily, you know, I only got screwed over once or twice, you know, with military money. They're quick to take it. Right. But they are very slow to give it back. But yeah, so anyways, shit, where were we going with that?
So you had the pit bulls.
Oh yeah. So I was tiny. I think in that picture I was maybe 125 pounds, 130 max, maybe soaking with all my clothes on. And I'm this big. You know, my son now is bigger than I was back then. But I was always really good at golf. My dad, you know, me and my dad used to go to the driving range all the time and hit balls. And then being in the military, there's almost always a golf course around. Right. So me and my buddy Kenny, we would get on the golf course, you know, multiple times a week, at least go to the, you know, the driving range. You know, I would go during lunch. Right. It's easy. It's cheap. It's something to do. Virginia Beach is mostly warm. You know, for the most part of the year, you get maybe 2 months where it's cold, but you can still golf. Not like it's here. You got like 3 days a year you can golf. And the rest is fucking snow.
Below zero.
Out here, you got to have like yellow balls that like, you know, shoot up a flare when it hits the ground or something. But yeah, so I was always really good at golf. And so I entered a tournament and I won the tournament. And it put me into a Pro-Am tournament. Like, fuck yeah, I'm good. Bro, I went from winning a tournament to getting 136 out of 136.
Oh, that ain't bad.
Yeah. The lowest score wins, right? I'm good. Apparently the highest score is not the right answer.
Right.
You know, so, but anyway, so I'm looking around at these pros and, you know, not that all the pros are big. They were bigger than me because I was 100 and nothing, right? But they're all pretty strong, right? And, you know, I could crush the ball, but they're strong and accurate. And I'm like, well, fuck, maybe I should start working out. So then I started working out and I realized, okay, well, maybe I'm stronger than I think I am. Then I met an old training partner of mine, Jay Best, super good dude. He taught me a lot at the beginning. And I probably wouldn't be where I am today without his guidance at that crucial junction, right? Because I was relatively new to the gym, like serious gym lifting. I met him and he was like, you can work out with me, but the first thing we're going to do is leg day. Bet I can survive your leg day. You're a bitch.
Yeah.
I almost fucking died. Look, I will die to prove a point. I'm not serious. Anybody that knows me, if I say I'm gonna do something, it might fucking suck, and I'm gonna fucking die at the end of it. But I am not gonna fucking quit. I do not quit. Period. I was talking to my son about that the other day about just I don't know how to quit. Right. Because there's a new survival TV show with like the family can push the button, right? It's a super cool fucking show. And I'm like, well, shit, y'all can just go take a nap. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm not going to quit until I'm dead.
Right.
But anyway, so I fucking died on that thing, dude. Like, my soul left my body. Like, we're doing walking lunges. And at the time, 50 pounds was heavy.
Right.
Bruh, I couldn't walk for 2 days. Literally,
I
literally couldn't fucking walk. And till this day, I don't think I've had a better leg day.
And then you go take a shit, you can't even sit down
dude,
because your ass hurts.
I couldn't. Like, I seriously contemplating just pooping in the fucking shower and be like, well, fuck it. Like, I don't want to sit down at this point.
Spread those butt cheeks.
Just fucking do it up, right? But anyway, and then I started getting into it, and I started realizing, for 100 nothing pounds, I'm relatively strong. Deadlifts and squats were always my biggest, two biggest things. I was pulling at 138. I started pulling 405. I was squatting 315 plus. My bench has always been terrible. The most I've ever done is 315.
You've always said you've had a smaller chest.
Well, my chest has actually grown a lot once I found a good coach. Right. But it was always hard for me to turn off that powerlifting mentality because I was powerlifting for a while.
Two different things.
It's completely different things, right?
It helps you in bodybuilding, don't get me wrong.
Well, that's why my legs are so big.
Right. It's definitely two different
animals, right? And I coach a gamut of things, right? And I won't coach anybody on something I haven't done. Like I had somebody that wanted me to coach them for Highland Games. I've never done a Highland Game, so I'm sorry, I love you, but I'm not going to coach you. Right.
At least you're honest.
I know what I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, anyway, so started doing that. Did my first bodybuilding show. I took 5th out of, I think there was 12 to 15 people, give or take. And I'm like, well, that was kind of fucking easy. It sucked. I mean, there were nights I cried myself to sleep because I'm fucking starving and I didn't know what to expect at that point, right? But nowadays, I live for that hunger, right? And because I understand, hey, hunger means your digestive system's working, it means you're doing the right thing. And honestly, being hungry is easy, right? Especially, being on deployments multiple times and being fucking starving. That's just fucking, I could eat in 2 hours. When I was in Afghanistan, I might not eat until tomorrow.
Right.
But anyway, so so did that first show. And then, later on that year, I met my current wife, through a friend on actual Instagram before Instagram even had fucking messages.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's how long ago this shit was.
So Instagram never had messages?
Well, before.
Right.
Yeah, when they first started, Instagram didn't have a message feature at all.
It was just post.
It was just post. So I commented on one of her pictures because I was like, damn, this bitch is hot. So I was like, hey, text me and then delete this off your phone. Because I didn't want people texting me, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, this chick's fucking hot. She ain't going to fucking text me. A couple hours later, hey, it's Rebecca. Oh shit, she fucking texted me. Let me call and make sure I'm not getting catfish. Because I think catfish had just came out at the time, or what was relatively around that thing, right? So we ended up talking for hours that day. I think she was late going into work, right? So instant fucking connection, right? So once again, I would not be who I am today without her. Like, and I know it.
Right.
I'm fucking done without her, right? Anyway, so we talked a lot that day. Then she called me after she got off work and we ended up FaceTiming. Or no, it was Tango. It was Tango. It was before FaceTime was even a thing. It was Tango. We tangoed that night. We both fell asleep on the phone. Woke up the next morning. My phone's, sitting up against my thing by my on my nightstand, right? She's asleep. I'm asleep. I quietly hung up because I had to get up super early, right? So she was in Texas and I was in Virginia Beach at the time. And literally from that day, and then she flew to me, first part of the year, I would say January, February timeframe. She knows the exact date. Like I said, she knows I'm bad with dates. But,
Right.
But yeah, so January, February timeframe, she flew to me, and that was the first time we had ever met in person. Once again, and you're always kind of nervous, right?
Right.
And her mom was like, "You're gonna get axe murdered by some dude,"
Right.
But it was like the first time she got there, right? It was like we had known each other forever, right? Because every night we had fallen asleep together, like on the phone for my birthday. She had ordered me a pizza for my birthday. I've known this chick for like a week, and she orders me a pizza for my birthday, and we FaceTimed and watched. I don't remember what we watched at the time. For Valentine's Day that year, she bought me the Harry Potter box set, which I'm a huge Harry Potter fucking nerd. We both are.
Yeah.
So once, like I said, it was super instant connection. And then we flew back and forth every month or so, Texas or Virginia Beach, and then I started competing, getting ready for a powerlifting meet. And then so I flew down to see her. We trained at Metroflex in
That's the original?
I think it was the Metroflex in Austin.
They do have one in Austin.
Yeah, but I don't know if the original one's in Austin or if it's in Dallas. I can't remember which one's the original one. Super cool fucking gym.
Yeah.
I mean, it's my kind of fucking underground blood, chalk, spit, fucking tears on the ground. Like, let's fucking go, right?
Yeah.
I probably, like, you walk in and your testosterone levels just instantly increase type of gym.
Correct.
Right? Kind of like some of the LOSAs. Not all
Yep.
the locations, but some of the locations have that.
Meathead
feel,
gyms
right?
is
Yeah,
what we call
meathead gyms, yeah.
Us people that don't lift anymore, we
dungeons.
call them meathead.
Dungeons. But yeah, so, we did that. Did my first powerlifting meet. And then we got married in 2014. I actually asked her to marry me a year to the day before we got married. So that was cool. But yeah.
All right. So you did the bodybuilding thing, but prior to all of your bodybuilding, you went to the Navy.
Yep.
At what age and what made you say, I'm going to the Navy? Because obviously
It's a hard decision.
It is.
Well, joining the military in general is a hard decision. So my grandfather was in the Navy, and my uncle was in the Navy as well. He was on a sub. And he'll tell you the same 8 stories every time you fucking see him. I love him to death, but he's a submarine guy. And if you're in the military, you've ever met a submarine guy, you fucking get it. Nuclear submarine people are super smart, but they are who they are.
Right.
Anyways, when did I just know I wanted to go in? After I graduated.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was always a cool thought, right? But I get bored at jobs really easily. In high school, I had everything from a cook to this place called Seven Gables, which is like a high-end restaurant where they only open like 3 hours a day, like 2 or 3 days a week. Like, so I learned, some cooking stuff there. But I was just a busboy at that point there. I was 16. I worked at Chick-fil-A. This place called All Seasons Rental. They do like the inflatable bouncy houses.
Yeah.
They rented skid steers, which is actually where I learned to drive and operate heavier equipment, which later helped me out in my military career. But I never knew what I wanted to do. Right. And then I graduated and I went and worked for this place. We hung mirrors like in bathrooms and like you open your closet and you have the shelves and stuff. We finished houses. Worked for them for a few months and I was good at it. I mean, I was only there for 2 months and then they gave me my own truck. They gave me my own, here, you're good at what you do. Go do this. And I got bored. I was like, I feel like this is much I can do. So I'm going to go do something else.
Right.
And then one day I'm just sitting there. I'm like, fuck, I'm just going to join the fucking Navy. Fuck it. Why not? So I actually joined the Navy. I wanted to be air crew search and rescue. I was still young. I still had a little bit of an attitude with me, right? I knew everything, just like these kids nowadays, right? That you're bulletproof, right?
Right.
But yeah, so I joined the Navy and I was in the delayed entry program because they didn't have a spot open until the next year. So I went back to work for the All Seasons Rental place because a buddy of mine, Eddie, he was like the main manager there. Really good friends with the owner. It was a small group of 8 to 10 people, but we were family. Every Thursday we played poker. Tuesdays and Wednesdays we went into Old Town Conyers and played poker at the poker house there. Well, the bar, but we called it the poker house. It was super cool. It's one of those businesses that takes care of their employees. You never really want to leave, but it was boring. It's not what I wanted to do.
Right.
So I joined the Navy. And then late November, early December, I get a call from my recruiter. And this whole time, I go up to the recruiting office. You have to once you're in the delayed entry program. We had to go up there a couple times a week to kind of check in. And, once a month we did a drug test just to make sure nobody's doing drugs and stuff like that, which I smoked a lot of weed when I was a kid. So once I joined the Navy, I was like, well, fuck. No, I might as well. I can't do this shit
sucks.
anymore, right? So went up there, and my recruiter was a super cool dude, and he's actually the reason I wanted to be search and rescue. He was a search and rescue guy, and he was telling me all these cool stories and shit, and now I'm like, is any of that shit fucking real? He was just a recruiter.
Now you're intrigued at this point.
Yeah, well, now I'm like, well, fuck. Was he just recruiting me to recruit me?
Right.
Was this shit real? But I mean, as a search and rescue guy, I do know a lot of the shit. It was very plausible. Whether they're his stories or not, I don't know. But super cool. So I joined the Navy. They called me like, hey, we got an open spot. You got to leave December 12th or December 11th. I'm like, well, fuck, my birthday's the 16th. I don't really want to spend my birthday and Christmas in boot camp. Fuck it, let's do it.
Right,
I'm all in. Let's go.
Yeah. Because you don't get a choice, right? They're calling you, telling you we have an opening.
Well, because they had somebody drop out, they had an opening. And I told them if they get an opening to let me go early, I want to go early. Because I don't think I was going to leave till like June or July of the next year.
Okay.
Fuck, that's so far away, man. And by then I didn't want to get bored and be like, well, fuck, now I don't want to do this shit.
Right.
So I'm like, fuck it, I'm all in. Well, my mom and dad were pissed. Bro, my mom, you might as well told her I killed somebody. She was so fucking mad at me because I wasn't going to be there for Christmas, right? I'm her baby. I mean, I did have a brother. I was born in 86. My brother was born in 2000. So there's a 14-year difference there. So he's still super young. But, I was her firstborn, her baby,
Right.
Going to fly off in the Navy, right? So they were pissed, but I did it, so went to boot camp, called them when I got there. It wasn't hard, but it was definitely different. Boot camp nowadays isn't the same. These kids, my son actually wants to join the Navy. He wants to be a CB welder, which I went in, obviously it's air crew. I eventually switched over to the CBs, and I was a mechanic and then, and all that stuff. But ended up doing some diving while I was in Guam. So that was fucking cool, but we'll get to that later. But anyway, so called her. I didn't realize how much of a mama's boy I was until I was fucking gone. Man, I would be like, hey, I got to go to the bank because they can't stop you from going to the bank that's, right down, a couple of buildings over. I'd go to the bank every fucking day. Hey, Mom, what are you doing? Can you send me XYZ? Said, all right, cool. So I was definitely a huge mama's boy, and I still am. I talk to my mom all the time, but didn't realize I was gone.
Right.
But yeah, so joined the military, got out of boot camp. Actually, the reason I'm not I didn't end up going through with search and rescue was because I had an attitude with the dude. So the guy came in, we're in boot camp, and when you're in boot camp as a special operations, whether you're SEAL or SWIC or, whatever small unit you're joining the military for, and especially in the Navy, you get separated, right? So instead of going to do PT with a normal, class, you go do pull time, or you go do running, or you go do XYZ. So this new guy was there. I knew he was one of the instructors. I didn't know he was a senior chief at the time. I was at E1. So so once in the special programs, you either get E3 or E4 out of your A school, which is like your schooling, right? So it's automatically guaranteed. But at the time I was in E1. Yeah, he said something to me and I did not like it. And I popped off in the mouth and had a fucking screaming match with this dude. And he was like, well, guess what? Now you're fucking gone. And I'm like, who the fuck are you? He was like, well, I'm senior chief so-and-so. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I fucked up. I fucked up pretty good on this one. God damn it. And I learned to keep my mouth shut real quick after that one.
Yeah.
So eventually I went to Corpus Christi, Texas after that, and was waiting for a new rate, which is a job in the military, in the Navy. So I picked up CM, which is construction mechanic, and I was like, well, fuck, I like working on cars. It's fucking easy. Went out to Port Hueneme, California. Fucking shithole. Fucking hated that place. But went through, it was a 12-week program. They teach you how to be a mechanic, which in my head, I'm like, well, this shit's fucking easy. Like,
right.
And it's not just changing the oil and, and doing all this stuff. It's breaking down, big Cummins diesel motors and doing all this other shit, changing tracks on, a skid steer or a big ass dozer, whatever, right? So that was cool. I actually really enjoyed that. Got out of there, and at the end they let you pick where you want to go, right? That you have like a wish list, like 3 options.
Yep.
Well, I never thought I would have got it, but my first option was special operations. Because in my head, I'm like, okay, well, I can still try to go a different route. Because by this time, I had known once you get to your duty station, you get to your command and you get settled, and you can put in, like a request, basically.
Right.
Whether it's if you want to go be a SEAL, then you put in your request, hey, I've been at this command for so long, I want to go be a SEAL. And then they'll give you got to go through this whole process, right, to do what you got to do, and then you either get accepted or don't. But yeah, so that was in my mindset, right? I'm not necessarily saying I was going to be a SEAL, right? But I want to go to Spec War. It's fucking cool. Everybody I've talked to says they get unlimited money. They got all the cool shit, high speed, low drag, and all that. So I put that down. Then I put East Coast down as well, because I ended up going to the East Coast in Virginia Beach. But put East Coast down because I didn't really care where I wanted to go. I just knew I needed to get to a spot, and then I could line everything up from there. Because I'm thinking ahead, right?
Right.
Even till today, I'm always trying to think multiple steps ahead, right? Because the present's already the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, so get my, all this down. I'm the first person back. Hey, you're going to Spec War SEAL Team 8. I'm like, no, I'm not. No, seriously. I'm like, well, fuck, this is cool as shit, right? So I get there, and you're still a little bitch boy, right?
Right.
By this time, I had already made E3 because I'd been in the Navy long enough, and I had graduated at the top of my class, and so they automatically promote you to E3. They can't promote you to a petty officer. Third class was to E4. I guess they probably could, but they weren't at the time because there's got to be so many open billets. Right. So the Navy has, I don't know the exact number, but we'll say the Navy can only have 1,500 E4s, 600 E5s, 300, et cetera, all the way up, right? There can only be one Master Chief of the Navy, all the way to that point. So get there, by far the coolest place I've ever been. Got a lot of cool training. That might actually be for another podcast, just because there's a lot of detail that goes into that. Got a lot of cool training, a lot of stuff I didn't ever remotely thought would have been possible. And then I was like, fuck it, I want to be a fucking SEAL. Like, I don't want to be search and rescue anymore. I don't want to go be SWCC. I've been around these guys long enough. I know enough of them. I know I don't know how to quit. I'm going to be a fucking SEAL. So at the time, I don't know what it's called now, but they had a pre-program, a pre-buds. They would call the SEAL pups. You just run around base all fucking day. You work out all fucking day. And it's not strength training. It's functional style training, right?
Right.
This was like before CrossFit was really CrossFit, but it's basically CrossFit type stuff. Functional style training, because you got to learn to run with your rucksack on. You got to learn to run with a weapon. We're running down the beach in our boots and utes and shit, right? And this fucking sucks. And then so that ended up not happening. I broke my ankle playing racquetball. I was pissed. So
because that's automatically.
Well, there was no point. I was already not the strongest runner to begin with.
So out of that class, how many do they take?
Well, so this is pre-buzz. This isn't even like going to buzz, right? So this is just like, do you have what it takes to make it to the next level, right?
Okay.
Because once you get into buzz, I mean, they can start with a big class, and there's not there might be now because of they need more team guys, right? But at the time, there wasn't really a set, like, you have to graduate so many people. Fuck it. If you all fell out, then bye.
Right.
Because the teams don't want some piece of shit that they're actually trusting their life with, right? So, and the SEALs are the Hollywood guys, everybody says. However, they're still fucking bad motherfuckers. Like, there's some dudes in there. There was one guy, his name was Chief. He wasn't a chief. He was a senior chief, but he carried hatchets for a fucking reason. That's a bad motherfucker, dude. You're carrying fucking hatchets overseas? Like, what?
There's a reason for that,
There's a reason for that, right? So you're a bad motherfucker. Yeah. Coolest dude on the planet. If you met him, he was a fucking nerdy dude. You would have never thought he was a fucking a team guy.
Yeah.
Ever thought it. Like, never.
But there's a reason for that
But
too.
he was a fucking bad motherfucker, dude.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the racquetball court was sealed. And it was sweating its ass off. We had been in there for like an hour, and I fucking stepped wrong and fucking broke my ankle. 3 days later, we got deployed to Haiti for some humanitarian work because this was 2010. So the earthquakes and shit had just happened. So I didn't know my ankle was broke. I thought it was just fucked up. So I'm walking around the entire time we're in Haiti with a fucking broke ankle. And then one day I feel it like pop. And I'm like, the fuck was that, right? So I get back and eventually go get an MRI done. And so you have 3 tendons that cross over your foot. You have 2 that go over the top and then the one that goes over the front or the back. The 2 on the top had snapped. So they're like way up here somewhere, right? They're fucking dead by now, obviously. But that pretty much ended my running career, right? Because now I can jog, but any long distance running, like my shit separates. And it'll swell up, dude. So that was a pipe dream at that point. So I just finished out my career, went to ACB2, which is the Amphibious Construction Battalion. And we basically do joint logistics over the seas. We build piers from the beach way out into the ocean to where like a freighter or, whatever type of ship can come, drop shit off so they don't have to beach. We build like a portable pier, basically. It's got a big ass roundabout. It's big enough for 2 18-wheelers to cross. That's giant fucking enormous. Most of the time there's only one, but you can put 2 side by side. But the pendulum or whatever at the end,
like a turntable
at the end, it'll spin 360. So you'll see they'll go all the way up. It'll turn them so they can load them. It'll turn them back and then they drive off. Coolest shit on the planet. I had no idea what the fuck I was getting into when I joined this command. Man, that shit was fucking hard.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was something new. It was fun. Then from there I went to CBMU 202, which is Construction Battalion Maintenance Unit. So basically it's the basis, it's a shore duty command, where you can get little billets to go here and there and stuff. But about halfway through my ACB2 career, probably a little sooner than that, but I took over the shop. So the E6 that was in charge of the shop at the time, ginormous piece of shit, like never came to work, was always drunk, ended up getting kicked out. I'm an E4 at the time. They give me the shop because once again, when I do something, I'm going all in, right? So they knew I knew how to run a shop. And this is a humble brag, I guess you say, but as a leader, I didn't realize I was a leader until that point. But they saw it and I didn't. But anyway, so I've got E5s and shit working for me as an E4. And from then to the rest of my Navy career, it's basically what I did was just run shops, get them shops that were fucked up. Now let's fix it and get it to where it needs to be.
So how long were you in the Navy for?
13 years. I joined in 2005. We moved up here in 2018. My wife actually, she got a job offer she just couldn't pass up in December of 17. So she came a little bit early. She got her house. Me and my son stayed. She brought the dogs. And so after she left, we packed up the house, right? Because we were living on base at the time in Mississippi, which we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, so we moved up. She moved up here a little bit early. Me and my son lived in an extended stay hotel. Mid-January, I went up to my Master Chief, super good dude. I'm like, hey man, look, I know I'm not technically supposed to be out of the Navy until April 15th. I show up to work, I say hey, and I fucking leave. Like, dude, I was going to working out. I was training clients at the fucking gym. Like, I'm not here. I'm already checked out. I've already got my DD-214. I really don't fucking care, bro.
Right.
Like, I'm not even shaving at this point.
Right.
He's like, text me every morning, tell me you're good. And by the end of that, like, whole thing, like, I didn't even text him anymore. Right. I mean, it just was what it was. So I got a lot of extra time free. So that was kind of like a thank you.
Yeah.
But once they told me, hey, you're too good at your job, we're not going to recommend you be promoted, I pretty much gave up at that point. Like, why the fuck am I doing this thing?
Right.
Because when I told them I was going to get out, they laughed. They're like, no, you're not. You're going to stay in. I'm like, okay, bet. But anyway, so left the CBMU 202, left there. So during this command, I had got divorced, met my current wife, and then we got married because it was a long command.
Yeah.
So that was all happening in this time frame. From 2011 to 2000, we got married in 2014. And then I transferred from there to Mississippi in 2015. And this is where I went to NMCB 1, which is Navy Construction Battalion 1. They called it the Green Machine, and it still is, right? It's the battalion. It's the backbone of the Civil Engineering Corps, which is what CBs are, right? With civil engineers. But it is the backbone of not necessarily the military, but the backbone of the CB world. But it fucking sucks. They don't give a fuck about you. You're just a fucking number. But I got there. They saw my background, instantly fucking here's your shops. Here's 2 shops. Good luck. I'm like, fuck me, dude. So I had showed up. They sent me to a refresher combat school, which is a fucking cakewalk. I actually met one of my best friends now, Jimmy. Brian, he's a pro bodybuilder now. It's funny. He was working the range. He still works the range down there, but he walks in and this dude had the biggest arms I'd ever seen, like in person, right? This dude was fucking massive. I'm obviously way smaller than I am now, or I was smaller than I am now, but he walks in and I'm like, that motherfucker gets it. We're going to be friends. And now I still talk to him almost every day to this point, right? So anyway, finished out my Navy career there. We moved up here in 2018. And it's when you join the military and it's such a routine for so long, and it happens to a lot of vets, and almost every vet will tell you, unless and I had even planned to, like, this is what needs to happen when I get out. I was fucking lost, bro. Like, it almost ruined my marriage. Like, we split up in 2019. With the PTSD, and I couldn't get my head out of my own ass, right? And I didn't want to admit that I had PTSD, and it brings me to today where I'm like a huge proponent and a huge proprietor for men's mental health, because nobody fucking cares.
Right.
Nobody fucking cares. If a dude says, hey, yeah, I'm fine, that motherfucker ain't fine. Check in on that dude. And I text random people like that I've known for years, hey man, you good? Cool. I don't need anything from you. I don't really want to have a full conversation with you. Just checking in. Are you okay?
Right.
I don't really like texting a lot, right? Because I'm so busy doing other shit. And it's nothing personal to anybody, but like we talk a lot, right? But it's, quick conversations, right? And now obviously when we've had real conversations, they're real conversations. But I don't like meaningless conversations.
Right.
And basically that's where I'm going.
Yeah, it goes nowhere.
It goes nowhere, right? Like I love my son to death, but he talks just to talk sometimes. I'm like, bro, I fucking love you, but please shut the fuck up for 5 minutes. And I tell him that. And he'd be like, man, you're an asshole. And I'm like, well, sorry, but
just being honest.
Yeah, I mean, him and my wife talk all the time. They bicker back and forth, but I'm just like, God, shut the fuck up, please.
Right.
And it's fine. Look, it's not me being mean. It's just like, it's a meaningless conversation. Like you get nothing out of this. But anyway, so we move up here in 2018. I eventually start going to a therapist, for that stuff. But watching my wife walk out the door is probably the hardest thing I had ever seen, right? So that's what really made everything click. And this was in 2019. By now, it just made everything click, because that was probably the lowest point in my life, right?
We're all badass men until they
you're
walk
a bad
out.
Motherfucker and you don't realize what you have until it's gone, right? And I had always loved her, and I always knew I loved her. But she'll tell you to the day from the day. So she moved out. She moved in with her aunt. And it was only for a couple months, right? And we still talked every day.
Felt like forever, though.
It felt like fucking forever. And I had talked to this other girl in the meantime. But it also helped me, nobody will ever compare. Right. And, she knows all this, obviously, right? It's not that we hide anything. But it's just men's mental health is super big. You need to see somebody, go see somebody. It's not you're being a little bitch. It's, hey, look, nobody knows what you're going through until you tell them. Right.
And you don't even know you're going through it sometimes either.
Right. And I didn't know because I wasn't ready to admit that. And it's one of them things where once you actually go see somebody, whether it's a homie and you're actually just being real with them, or an actual licensed therapist, once you realize, hey, maybe I do need to get this shit off my chest, it fucking changes everything. Right. Bro. And from that moment forward, my wife's life, my life, and my son's life is infinitely better than I could have ever imagined. Right. Because her walking out and then, us, not that she left because I actually asked for the divorce. I was like, hey, look, this just isn't working. I want a divorce, whatever. But watching her walk out broke me. And then that's when you're at your lowest.
Right.
And then getting help and then talking about it and then treating people how you know they deserve to be treated.
Right.
Dude, man, let me tell you something. That's probably asking her for a divorce is the worst thing that's ever happened in my life.
Yeah.
Right.
She was just, at least she stayed around and was,
well, and that's
like, this is really what he wants?
Well, that's the thing. Like she wasn't even living with me anymore. And she was like, let me help you. Cause I'm not a great financial person. She's the best. I told her a month after we met, you're the best adult I've ever fucking met. But like, let me help you with your finances. Let me help you get Eddie health care because I have TRICARE from the military, right? So I don't need it. But like, let me help you do all this shit so you're okay when we do get divorced. And I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing?
Right.
I'm a fucking idiot.
Right.
And then like, I think her losing me made her realize too, like, that's my person. And she knows she's my person. Like every day I leave her love notes every day. Like that's stupid sticky. I love you. Right. And her love language isn't presence, right? It's time and affection and stuff like that.
Right.
Like let's cuddle. But my love language is buying her shit. Cause I like seeing her happy, dude. Like same thing with yours, right? Like her smile is probably melts my heart. Like I will do anything for that.
Absolutely.
For that smile, for that chick in general. Like people, I'll die for it. No, I would. Yeah. Right. Because, and we talk about it all the time, like, I want to die before, or I want you to die before me.
Right.
Because I don't want you to have to suffer what it's like to be alone.
Yeah.
Right.
We've talked, me and my wife talk about the same
like, I'm probably going to die of broken heart syndrome. Like, that's for real. Like,
you die, I'm dying 2 days later.
You wait long, but you got to go first.
Right.
Because I don't want you to experience what it's like, you know, and it's mental health, right? Once you get right, everything just fucking clicks.
We'll definitely have to bring you on for mental health month
for sure
and talk about it, just because there's a lot of real shit that you have experienced that obviously we're not even going to touch on this because it is huge,
too in depth.
It's actually too, in my opinion, that kind of stuff is so serious that's what that needs to just be about.
It needs to be a whole podcast about that because it brings the vibe down, right? So, you know, everybody watching this today, you know, you're super high, you know, hey, cool, this is, you know, a funny, you know, whatever story about where he came from and who he is and background and blah, 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 blah. And then you start talking about PTSD and men's mental health and all that rabbit hole shit.
Right.
And it's just like, well, fuck, man. Like now I'm in a bad mood.
Right. Shit.
So
yeah.
So that I have no problems coming back and doing a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that because I know people are going to ask about it.
Yeah.
People are going to message about it, and that's fair. And he's willing to do it. So I'm totally game for that stuff because a lot of people aren't willing to talk about that stuff. And where does it come from and so forth? Like there's a lot to it.
Yeah. And I don't mind if anybody wants to reach out to me. My Instagram is @the_bearded gorilla. It's a picture of my logo. You'll know it when you see it. Shoot me a message. I don't have to fucking know you, but if you're having a bad day and you don't want to talk to your homies or whoever, be like, hey man, I just need somebody to talk to for 5 minutes.
Right.
Cool. I got you.
Yeah.
Cause I'd rather hear your story and hear, you know, you upset and all this stuff than reading in the paper, so-and-so killed themselves for whatever reason. Right. Like, come on, man. It can be that serious.
Yeah.
But it's not, there's always a way out. So yeah, that's a whole nother conversation because I don't want to bring this.
Absolutely. So if somebody was to, we're just going to jump back into the fitness stuff real quick.
Sure.
If somebody was to look for, to get into not just necessarily bodybuilding, but just getting a healthier life, healthier lifestyle, what are a couple things that you say, you know what, start here?
Food.
Measuring food, eating food, looking at food.
All of the above. The most important part is going to be getting your food right because, you know, the old adage, if you can't out-train a shitty diet, for the most part is true.
Yeah.
So clean up your diet. Stop eating a lot of dairy because a lot of high-fat stuff really slows your digestive system down.
Right.
And once your digestive system slows down to a certain point, your body doesn't release ghrelin, which is the hunger signaling hormones that your body releases. So your body's not going to produce that. You're not going to be hungry, and you know you're just going to feel like overall shit. So once you start cleaning your diet up, your stomach will start growling more, right? And because it's actually hunger, because what happens is your body produces that ghrelin, and this is a fun fact that not many people know. When your stomach growls, it's because your stomach and intestines are vibrating at such a high frequency, it sounds like a growl. 90% of people don't know that, but that's a little fun fact for you guys.
That's a good one. I never knew that.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm a big science nerd.
Like it is what it is. I mean, that's why I wanted to bring you here.
Right. So, but yeah, so food's going to be the most important part. Anybody can go. That's the hardest part because anybody can go to the gym. Anybody can go work out, but being consistent with your food, getting better sleep, and actually drinking more water than soda's okay, here or there, one diet soda a day is not going to hurt you. I do it now. But the majority of water, at least a minimum of a gallon of water, but sodium. For so long, the health industry was, don't have a lot of salt. It's going to kill you. You need sodium. It acts as a glue.
Right.
You need that for your glycogen. You need it.
And when he's saying sodium, guys, he's not saying the fucking deep fryer.
No. Okay?
Salt. I just wanted you got to understand.
Yeah.
The sodium he's talking about is the salts.
Pink salt.
Pink salts.
Pink Himalayan salt, iodized salt. Is what I would recommend. Not normal table salt because it doesn't have all the minerals and nutrients in it. But yeah, if you can afford a coach, find a coach. If you can't, just find out what your body digests well and stick with it. Right. If you want something bad enough, you're gonna make it work. Right. Eric Thomas said this years ago, and I live my life by it. When you want to be successful as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. Right. And paraphrasing, but that's basically what he says. If you want to make something happen, you'll make it happen. If it's not important to you, you're never going to be successful anyways. And the majority of the people watching this podcast want to be successful. They're not watching this podcast just because I'm bored on a Friday night.
Right.
You want to learn something, feed my pockets, right?
Yep.
You want to know how to get to that next level. And it's going to be locking in the food, locking in your sleep, getting actual recovery. But when you do go to the gym, being consistent. Right. You don't have to do cardio. Do 10 to 12,000 steps a day. Go walk for 10 or 15 minutes after every meal, because about depending on your gait and how long your stride is, a 10-minute walk is around 1,000 steps.
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
That ain't shit.
That's shit. I can do 20,000 steps a day and not even think about it. It's easy. Get a fucking walking pad, and while you're watching TV at night, quit giving me bullshit excuses. You can order a walking pad for $130 on Amazon. Everybody on this fucking podcast has $130. Stop going to McDonald's for 2 weeks and you'll be fine.
Fuck, man, that McDonald's sounds tasty though, bro.
But yeah, so get a walking pad. You ain't even gotta get a treadmill. Get a walking pad. Put it in front of your TV and just walk for 30 minutes every night. It's not that fucking hard. We're in Minnesota. You can't go do it outside right now, but take your significant other and go walk around the block every night.
Bullshit.
It's just bullshit. Me and my wife do it every fucking night when it's nice out because that's our time. Hey, how was your day? Even though we talk, she works from home a lot too. We talk a lot, but it's our time without my son, without the dogs, without all of our bullshit, without our phones. Let's just talk. How was your day? What's our plan?
So you're killing a couple birds with one stone.
You are, right? It's that connection, right? And this, once again, I'm talking about, we reconnected and we found that's what works. And it's, anybody I suggested it to, their relationships have gotten better. Even if you're single and you go do this, you don't necessarily have to put headphones in, but something where you can just think to yourself, plan your next day, think about how successful you were for the day, right? Feed my pockets. What can I do better tomorrow that I didn't do today? Consistency. And honestly, across the board, no matter what you're doing, whether it's running a business as far as a restaurant, running any other kind of business, whatever you're doing, even if you're just sitting at home being a lazy piece of shit, right? If you want to make your life better, be consistent. That's
key.
The key. Consistency.
Consistency is the key in anything in life. You want to feed your pockets, make that money, you got to be consistent on that. Because if I wasn't consistent on this shit, it wouldn't be called feed my pockets. It would be called this motherfucker's done.
We broke his shit. And that's the thing, right? Like, it's very easy to get into a lazy state.
It is.
I'm lazy a lot of the time. Bodybuilders notoriously are lazy because when I'm not training, right, and I'm not eating, because I'm eating 7,500 calories a day right now. It's a lot of fucking food, but I'm starving. But when I'm not doing anything, when I'm not actively training or client plans or eating, I don't want to fucking do nothing else. But in order to make it to that next level, I would love, I just bought a fucking video game for my PlayStation the other day. I played it once. No, it was months ago, probably 2 months ago. I played it once.
It was all hype though.
It was. Hey, I was excited. I turned the motherfucker on.
I'm gonna beat this game,
and I was like, I gotta go eat in 20 minutes. I ain't got time for this shit. Turn it off, and you know what I'm saying. So, once again, when you want to be successful, you'll find a way to make it work.
Yep.
And that's going to be the consistency portion of it. Whether it's the food, the training, the showing up to work. You know, if you're at McDonald's and you're a fry cook. Well, you want to manage that McDonald's? All right, show up every fucking day. Be consistent.
Right.
Let them know what you want to do, right? Because if you don't
tell them,
make it known that you want to, you know, get better and, you know, do more things, they're not going to do nothing. But if you show consistency, hey, that motherfucker, you know what? Let's let him run the front. Right. All right, you're going to be the shift manager.
Right.
All right, well, shit, that store's opening up in Brooklyn Park. You know what?
Manage that one.
Now go manage that one.
So
now you went from flipping burgers and shit for $12 an hour to running a McDonald's at $40 an hour or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
No.
If it was, everybody would be doing it, right? And
exactly.
It's corny and cheesy as fuck to say that, but goddamn it, if it's not fucking true, nothing worth doing is fucking easy.
Right. Facts. A lot of tips were dropped right there.
Hey, look.
Those last few minutes were some gems.
That's the money shot right there, bro. You got to watch the whole motherfucking podcast to get to it.
Amen. But it is. It's consistency and it's repetitive and so forth. And that's why I wanted to bring you on here because I knew you live that lifestyle. You live by the word. You live by it. And I truly appreciate you coming on here, bro. Always supporting me. Always showing me love. Means a lot to me from the word go. I mean, it does. It's a badass feeling to have that. So for all you guys that are looking, the Beard Gorilla, he's on Instagram. Are you on YouTube or no?
Not consistency because it's not something. Well, right, but it's not something I want to get into. Right.
It's hard. It's hard.
I was a streamer, like you knew, for years, and I was consistent at it. But when I got bored with it, I'm like, I'm done.
So find him on Instagram.
Instagram at @the_bearded gorilla. Like I said before, you know, it's. I'm sure they'll put the link in here as well, but you'll see it. It's my off-season pictures most of the time.
Absolutely.
I post clients as well, and a lot of diet tips, a lot of training tips, a lot of posing tips. I do a lot of business mentorship as well, so I do post some stuff on that about that as well. But once again, it's consistency.
Yeah.
Right. So, got any questions? Once again, please don't hesitate to reach out. It's 2025. Like we said 6 hours ago at the beginning of this podcast, I'm always on my fucking phone.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, brother.
Anytime.
Thank you for coming, brother. Guys, this is the Feed My Pockets Entertainment. I truly appreciate it. Make sure you guys hit the link in the bio. Follow the YouTube on Instagram as well. I appreciate it. We're out.